Okay. Don't worry, we're back for a sec.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
All right, awesome. And we are live. My friends, welcome to the Real Results Show. My name is Evan Transu, aka Health Coach Ev. I am back once again, and as always, having wonderful little technical stuff in the background. It is fun though. I was talking to Suzanne before this, and it's different each week, so at least it's the novelty of that, and I gotta navigate each little issue beforehand. But no, I'm kidding. I'm glad to be here. And for the last 2 weeks, I was out. We had a dental infection, and then I had to get one very specific troublesome wisdom teeth or a tooth removed that actually took 1 hour. So that was not fun, but I am so glad to be back to work and helping you guys all out, bringing you this information with these wonderful practitioners. So on the Real Results Show, we are interviewing real practitioners who have real results, not only for themselves, but for their clients, and using the FDN principles as well as functional healthcare principles in general. So today I have the pleasure of getting to talk to Suzanne Healy. So Suzanne, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, first and foremost, because I always think this is an interesting question to ask, and we've transitioned a little bit since, for those that watch the show often, Piper Gibson was on for a while, and it was more focused around kind of the FDN course. And now we're talking more about FDN Thrive, which is our program for the public, where we actually take on clients ourselves. So it's really important to get the client background. But again, I like this question, and it's one I want to continue. When did you go through the FDN course, and how long did it take you to complete it?
I had to think about this one a little bit because it was a few years ago. I actually took the FDN course back in 2012. And I want to say it took me probably 6 to 9 months to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. This is cool because I also host the FDN Thrive podcast. And I found like there's a ton of grads that it just seems come up in like the 2015 to 17 range. So that's awesome that you were doing this back in 2012, one of the OGs of FDN. Where did you hear about this?
I actually found it online. I was dealing with my own health issues. I had really bad digestive symptoms, was diagnosed with IBS, but wasn't getting any help from doctors or anybody that I was talking to. And I just kept thinking, there's got to be a reason why I'm dealing with these symptoms. There's got to be answers out there for me. And I started looking online. I was Googling and I came upon FDN and I said, this is the course. I heard Reed Davis talk about, when you're dealing with symptoms, symptoms are the last thing to occur. And when you have symptoms, there is upstream dysfunction. There are reasons why you have these symptoms. And I said, oh my God, somebody who finally understands me, like somebody who gets me. And I'm like, I have to take this course. So when I took the FDN course, it was really working on myself. And I honestly did not have the intention of working with anybody else. I was really just trying to get to my own root causes and bring healing to my body. And I was kind of a slow starter. It took me a few years to actually start working with other people. I found out I had so much knowledge I wanted to share with people. I was able to get to my own root causes, and I started to get passionate about doing this work and helping other people.
Okay, this is so cool to hear someone else that had that same experience, because this is why FDN Thrive is so interesting, because we have people like ourselves that almost just want to learn about this. I mean, obviously, we are people that like to study a little more, I guess, but there are people out there that just want to get the benefits as a client and don't necessarily want to go out and work with others. But that's the exact reason I joined the course. And I am thankful that I did, to be honest, because yeah, for a couple of years afterwards, I never took on any clients. I literally just went through this to work on my own healing journey. So that's really cool that you can kind of relate to that. I mean, it sounds pretty much identical. Now, I'm always interested in the reasoning to this question. Um, what was it? I mean, you said, oh, I just knew there had to be something else. Well, you know what, Suzanne? There's millions of people, tens of millions of people that don't just know that. Was that just something that you had intuitively, or did you have an influence in your life that led you to believe that, hey, maybe I really shouldn't be sick and maybe I need to address my lifestyle stuff and figure that out more?
I I think it was a combination of both. I didn't really know how to eat. I didn't know about much about nutrition. I was pretty much raised, standard American diet. My
Mhm.
mom cooked, our dinner. She was an amazing cook, but I didn't know a lot about nutrition. So I kept thinking there had to be like a food connection piece that was happening in my situation. But I also think it was definitely intuitive. It was something on an intuitive level that I just felt like there had to be reasons, there had to be root causes. My doctors, I'd ask them about food, I'd ask them about nutrition, and they were, basically said, well, keep a food journal and, make a list of what you're eating, and maybe you can come up with some connections that way. And that was like all the guidance that I received. So really, just, intuitively, I just really felt like, there had to be reasons. And I also had this innate feeling that our body is designed to heal. When we
Right.
can give our bodies what it needs, our bodies knows what to do. And our bodies are designed to, heal themselves when we can give them what's needed. So I think it was a combination of those three things that really propelled me into my journey.
Right. And when you know that, you could search through so much information and it actually becomes kind of an overload. So we're always about giving people tips and tricks. And if you want some of the tips and tricks to kind of shedding belly fat, because yes, there is, of course, you got to be eating well, but there's plenty of people that are eating well, exercising, doing what they think are the right things and still not getting it. You can drop the word secret below and we will send you over some tips for that type of stuff. Now, I know we're going to be talking about a lot more than that today. Of course, we can't really help it as FDNs, but there is a really important thing. I mean, we have a weight epidemic in this country. 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. FDN expands much farther than just America. I think we're in 50 countries now, which is incredible. I mean, that's literally a fraction of the world. But you went through this and you had talked about kind of IBS and stuff, but I'm guessing like was the weight thing a part of your story as well?
The weight thing was a part of my story. I
Mhm.
struggled. Actually recall being about 8 or 9 years old and carrying extra weight. Like I was not one of the skinny girls. I was, chunky, and kind of went through my whole life, from that point forward, carrying maybe 10, 15, up to 20 extra pounds. In my teenage years, I was, starting to diet, counting calories, kind of the yo-yo dieting thing. And it was when I was 16 that I actually went through a whole year of suffering with digestive pains, with cramping and bloating. And it took a year to get the diagnosis of having IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, which really wasn't very common at that time. And once again, IBS, it's a name for a collection of symptoms, but it doesn't really tell you what you need to do to be able to heal yourself or to be able to not have those symptoms. So, yeah, so I basically had both things kind of happening simultaneously. And then it was years later where my digestion was getting so much worse. And I was still doing the yo yo dieting thing that I found FDN really started. I actually did a lot of trial and error on my own before I got to FDN, trying like different foods, different diets, different styles of eating, had some mixed results. And then when I got into FDN and found out about the functional labs that we could run, that just like opened up a whole new world for me. So through all of that, I actually found out that I had SIBO.
Hmm.
Actually, 75 to 80% of people with IBS, they can have SIBO, which is small
Wow.
intestine bacterial overgrowth. And so it's not anything that was pathogenic that was in my gut, but it was bacteria that migrated up into my small intestine. And that's not the bacteria, most of it's supposed to be in your large intestine, not in your small intestine. So that was wreaking havoc, and that was contributing to so many of my symptoms digestive wise. So after, treating that, healing that, everything got better. And after that, really the weight was no longer an issue for me. I had, through FDN and some other trainings that I had taken, I learned about foods and what worked for my body, was able to figure that out. And once you know those things, then the weight really, no longer was an issue for me.
It's so cool because I mean, when I've talked to people and even with the FDN Thrive program a lot, I wouldn't say that I've ever personally seen someone come with weight as their primary kind of issue or complaint. However, it's almost always, I mean, statistically, 70% of people, right, are going to come to us with that as at least one of the things they'd like to work on. And I'm never someone that really focuses on the counting calories things or the whatever. And they're like, are you sure this is okay? I'm like, just trust me, when you're healthy, you automatically become a good weight. It's like we've been put in this mindset of you have to become a good weight to become healthy. Of course, in certain cases, there is truth to that. If you're just going around eating McDonald's 3 days, 3 meals a day, yes, obviously that's a different issue, right? But there are so many people, especially the ones that come to people like us, right, that are trying. And we're really doing the right thing. So why is this not going well for us? Now, I'd love to actually talk about the SIBO thing for a second because it's not something we have really brought up, at least since I've been on the show. And I haven't even talked about it too much on the podcast. I've had a lot of people come to us, and the way it's being presented in the functional world is like, this is this death sentence that you just cannot heal from. It's super tricky. It requires you being strict for the rest of your life. Is this true or is it not true? And how were you able to resolve this? Because I mean, you look great and you sound great, and it sounds like you really were able to do a lot of work on that.
I was. For me, it was really about knowing that I had SIBO, and then I used the elemental diet. So I basically did like a liquid diet for about 3 weeks, and it was hard. It was not an easy thing to do, but I knew that I needed to do that. So the bacteria, so I could get it out of my small intestine. And SIBO is a condition that can be, you can have reoccurrences of it. So I knew that thanks to my FDN training. So I was able to use supplements to make sure that I kept things moving through my digestive tract, really keeping in our digestive tract, we have the MMC, it's the migrating motor complex. And the MMC really, it cleanses, it produces cleansing waves, it keeps things moving through our digestive tract. And that can be one of the root causes of SIBO, is maybe your MMC not functioning the way it should. So I knew that, and was able to, use supplements. And I have to, I'm just mindful of it, and making sure that things are moving through my digestive tract so I don't end up having the SIBO come back again has been, really the answer for me long term.
This is so cool. And guys, this is one of those secrets that we're talking about for shedding the extra belly fat, because it's not always just calories in, calories out. In fact, in today's world, I find that very few people are dealing with that because they've already addressed that issue. So you can drop the word secret below and we'll make sure to send you some tips and tricks for doing this kind of stuff, in addition to the awesome things that we're learning today. So I think this is important for people to understand and realize, not ever to discourage them, but to understand, hey, listen, we actually need to put some time in. If we've been dealing with chronic health issues, it's not going to heal overnight, but it is going to be worth it. And there is a time that this is going to get better. So again, the results for you are obvious because you're someone that's talking about weight issues. That's clearly not a thing today for you. How long would you say that was something that lasted in your life? Like, how long did this take to really get to the point where you're like, all right, I have a good control over this. I'm feeling good. I feel a lot better. Because most people, it's not 10 days. It might be like, several months. So what was your time range, if you remember?
From after, honestly, the longest part was me getting to find out what was wrong, knowing that I had the SIBO, because the testing wasn't something that was really prevalent Back in 2012, it was a few years later. And but once I was able to get the testing, I knew that my symptoms totally, lined up with that. Then it was, putting the protocol into place. And honestly, it was about 3 weeks. I knew really quickly like this was working. The elemental diet, like I said, it was so hard. I was drinking, just the elemental, like a powder mixed with some water. You couldn't drink it quickly. You had to like drink it really slowly because basically the elemental diet is based on um, keeping your body from starving, giving you enough nutrition to like feed your cells, but to starve the bacteria that may be in your gut. So the bacteria dies off and it moves out of the body. So you couldn't drink the shakes quickly. They had to like be sipped on. And that was hard. I remember like, my daughter and my boyfriend being here and they would like order out pizza and I would get so upset with them because I couldn't eat it. I go lock myself in my bedroom. Like this is awful. But it was 3 weeks. And then after that, I could start bringing, foods back into my body and had to do it very slowly because I hadn't had anything solid in my stomach for 3 weeks. So I did that slowly. But yeah, honestly, I knew like in those 3 weeks that big shifts were happening. And I'm like, yay, finally, like I'm not gonna deal with these symptoms anymore.
Nice. And just to make the connection for people listening out there, because I think as practitioners, it's kind of, we have enough knowledge to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But how does something like this lead to you finally getting to kind of a healthy weight? And of course, we don't have to go into the technical stuff, but like, why is it that, yes, addressing this small bacteria or a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth could affect someone's weight? Because if I'm just someone listening to this for the first time, yeah, I might not get that. I really might not make that connection because I'm thinking I'm just eating too many calories.
I think any kind of dysfunction that's happening in the gut is going to prevent us from getting the nutrients that we need. That can contribute to cravings. It can contribute to you overeating. I think there can be like a lot of, different reasons for that. I know going through this, I did have some nutrient deficiencies because my body wasn't getting the nutrients that it needed. So I needed to work on replenishing like zinc. I was very low on zinc. I was very low on vitamin D. So, and through the whole process that really, shed some light on that, allowed me to get my nutrients up. And yeah, and then, like I said, I knew the foods that were going to work for my body. And yeah, it all pretty much worked together.
All right, cool. Now that makes a lot of sense because those are, I mean, really quick things, but still, to me, okay, that makes a lot more sense as to why this would lead to the weight thing. So, what ended up leading to you being inspired? I mean, years later, because I know it was like certain things in my life that led to me wanting to actually work with people. What was it for you that, hey, 2, 3 years later after graduating the course, you're finding like, you know what, I think I want to do this and take on clients with this philosophy of healing people, if you will. Like, what was it that got you going?
I think really getting healthier myself, being able to like reach my ideal weight, having, my digestive, I didn't have digestive symptoms anymore. Like things were much better. And I really felt like impassioned, like I really want to help other people. I saw so many people suffering, carrying extra weight, type 2 diabetes, getting diagnoses, going on, prescription medications, those medications causing other issues in their body. And I just really felt like I needed to be a voice to be able to help people with what they're dealing with. And most people, initially they are kind of focused on the weight, but as FDN practitioners, we're all about getting to the root causes and we dive into everything. And that's the work that I love doing.
It's so cool. And you kind of took the words right out of my mouth if I was answering that, because you get to a point where not only is it working, but it's like a truth that is not mainstream yet by any means. Like, that there's a better way, and that there are other people just like you and just like me that are out there in the cycle of trial and error, like Reed always talks about. And for those that don't understand what that means, you're probably in it if you're watching this, unfortunately, unless you're already on the other side. The cycle of trial and error is just, all right, I have this condition or a set of symptoms. Maybe you don't even have the diagnosis of a condition yet, and you're trying this supplement. or this doctor or this practitioner or whatever. And it's like maybe you take two steps forward sometimes, but then eventually you take those steps back. That's the cycle of trial and error, right? So what we're doing with FDN, and all practitioners do this, FDN Thrive does this, is finding what's actually going on and then creating a customized plan for you with your bio individual needs, but also using the core of FDN, which is dress. And we talk about that a lot, not so much today, but that's our core, right? So everyone is kind of getting the same thing, but then it's customized to the person because dress isn't going to look the same for everyone. Now, who is your ideal client, Suzanne, that you work with nowadays? Like, I always like to ask people this. Who's like the person when they come on with maybe these few qualities, you're like, yes, I'm going to be able to help you because you got exactly what I'm looking for.
I honestly love working with people who have digestive issues because I feel like that is, one of my areas because I, suffered with it so much. So people who are suffering with IBS or, they have digestive symptoms, going on in their bodies. And it's so funny because sometimes people think like, well, just tell me what you did for your IBS. But we are all different. What worked for me may not work for another person. So it really has to be customized and individualized, for each person. So definitely digestive issues. I work with clients with autoimmune conditions too, because we know that's all connected with the gut as well. And I get a lot of people who want to lose weight loss, who want the weight loss part of it. So
Right.
that's pretty much digestion, autoimmune, and weight loss are my those are my top areas.
Very cool. And autoimmune, as a side note, I feel like is so common for not only FDN practitioners, but the FDN Thrive program to see because I really cannot think of a group that goes more undiagnosed and mistreated than the autoimmune community. It takes years on average for these poor people to even figure out what the heck's wrong with them. They've been dealing with symptoms the whole time. And as you know, if the symptoms are there, well, they've already been dealing with stress for a while, right? I mean, it's just like, holy cow, before these people get a diagnosis, it's like, I got to be sick for 10 years. So that's really cool that you do that as well. And guys, we've been talking about a few things today, but one of the things we're talking about is kind of the secrets to shedding that extra belly fat. And you could drop the word secret in the comments and we'll send you over some tips because what we know as FDNs, and we've seen countless times, is that weight loss is so much more than just the calories in, calories out thing. Like people are still preaching this to this day. When your body is healthy, and when we figure out what we need to do to make your individual body healthy, all of a sudden you look good, the skin clears up, the weight falls off. It's just kind of how it naturally happens. So that's fun. Just to finish up here, because we started a little late, so I want to make sure we honor that and go over a little bit from 3:30. But I think it's so much fun to talk about our own health journeys, but even more empowering sometimes because we're like the nerds. We love researching this stuff. We rattle it off. I think individuals like to know that, yes, real human beings that are not in this, and maybe you're an accountant or, a school teacher, you can still do this in your life, even if you're not going to sit there and study it 8 hours a day like we are. So do you have any really cool, like client testimonials to the degree that you're able to share them, obviously, about someone that maybe came to you with some chronic digestive issues, you worked with them and they're like, all right, Suzanne's magical. I love her.
I actually do want to share about a client that I worked with recently. And her story, weight loss is tied in with it, but we weren't really working on weight loss. She was actually diagnosed with two autoimmune conditions when she was 16, and she was able to put those into remission and had been like symptom free for about 20 years. But she knew that she was dealing like with a lot of sugar cravings, and sugar could kind of like take over control of her life at times. And we talked about, doing some testing to try to get to the root causes. And through doing some food sensitivity testing, we actually did a food inflammation test on her. We found out that yes, she did have some food sensitivities, and candida was a huge one. And we knew that she was dealing with some leaky gut. So we worked on, the 5R protocol, removing foods, replacing them, re-inoculating her gut, rebalancing, that whole protocol, worked on healing the gut lining. And she, in just a few months, she said, wow, I'm not having these cravings anymore. I feel like this helped me to get to the root cause of what I've been dealing with for my whole life. So that was amazing. And as a side effect, she lost 15 pounds. But like I like to say to people, when you get healthy, when you can get to those root causes, the weight loss happens as a side effect of
Yes,
getting
yeah. I
healthy.
loved that way of wording it. Yeah, we're not even focused on that. Let's focus on the other things. And oh, magically, human beings are supposed to
Exactly.
be a healthy weight.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that that's so cool. I love hearing about this stuff. It really never gets old, and that's the reason we push so hard, and we're just trying to get out into the public even more with like this new side of FDN. Because think about the results that we're getting, but people have been dealing with this stuff for 10 years by the time they get here. What happens if people knew for 6 months, hey, I'm not feeling so good, I'm going to go grab an FDN? You know, I think, I mean, I genuinely believe we'd be looking at a whole different world in terms of the chronic disease stuff, because the body wants to heal, guys. It doesn't want to be sick. It is reacting right now and causing symptoms because it's trying to protect you. It's trying to do what it has to do to keep you alive. That's the number one priority. It's not to make you feel good necessarily. Awesome. So we'll wrap up here. Suzanne, where can people find you if they're like, all right, I got to talk to her because this is totally up my alley?
You can find me on my website at suzannehealy.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Body Heal Health Coaching. I really believe in the body's ability to heal itself. So Body Heal, one word, health coaching is the name of my coaching practice.
I love people that have very simple things to remember. It's so much smarter for marketing and stuff. All right, cool. Well, guys, thank you as always for tuning in. You've been listening to another episode of The Real Results Show. My name's Evan Transu, aka Health Coach Ev, and we've been talking to Suzanne Healy today. Of course, if you're just catching this at the end, you can drop the word secret in the comments and we'll make sure to send you some stuff over. Suzanne shouted out where you can find her stuff, SuzanneHealy.com. FDNThrive.com is our website. Feel free to go to either, but we will see you guys next week, same time, same place, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care.